Hello, welcome to learntocook.com. Today we'll be preparing a fresh brisket. This is used for corned beef, but today we're cooking it old world style, braised with some onions and red wine and some stock. It's actually a sweet and sour brisket. It's quite wonderful. So what I'm going to do is overnight, I put a special rub on here, and the rub I actually use is dried onions and white pepper and some salt, and it really gives a wonderful spice. You can see it right here. So it's dried onions. I spread it on there along with some pepper and salt, and it overnight it impregnates the meat, gives it some great flavor. Then we browned it. I browned it on both sides, get some caramel color, and now I'm going to bring it over to the stove and show you how we prepare it prior to putting it into the oven. It's a braised dish. All right, so we also added additional sliced onions to this. And once we browned the meat, we took the brisket out, and we want to caramelize slowly some nice onions, some yellow or Spanish onions. So when I caramelize the meat on the surface, give it some nice color, and then removed it, the onions are crispy. I'm going to deglaze it. Deglaze with some stock. So to deglaze, there's all that beautiful caramelized pieces of fat and juices and other liquids that have caramelized and sugars from the meat. So we want to reduce that, what we call the fond de cuisine, which is the base of cooking. The fond is the beautiful caramelized bits, and some red wine. I'm also going to add some black pepper. I'm going to let that simmer for a few moments so that we can extract all that beautiful flavor. I want the wine to boil out, a few fresh bay leaves. And then, since I like my brisket kind of sweet and sour, I'm going to add some cider vinegar and some brown sugar. This makes a wonderful dish. It's a beautiful, as we call it, fresh brisket, as it's known. Now you can corn a brisket, but that's a little more work. That'll be for another time. And then I'm going to add some chili sauce. And the chili sauce, it gives a nice piquant tang, a sweet and sour flavor that goes very well with this beautiful beef brisket, and the sauce makes for a beautiful color. Now it's simmering. Let's put our seared brisket in there. Let's turn it over, both sides. Bathe either side. Very nice indeed. I even have some of that dry spice rub. I also put that in there as well. Comes to a boil. Put the lid on it. And now it goes into a 350-degree oven for 2.5 hours. You'll want to check after 2 hours for fork tenderness. You see how spongy and raw that is? So it's not cooked, it's raw. Internal temperature of the meat is important to check. You want it to be completely tender. We like to say fork tender. Well, here's our brisket, our sweet and sour brisket, even yet. It really looks great. It's fork tender. Like any brisket you cook or corned beef, you want it to be fork tender, which means it does not cling to the fork, but it doesn't fall apart. And it has a beautiful color to it because it's sweet and sour. We had the beautiful brown sugar in that. Chili sauce, you saw that. I just put in a little apple cider vinegar. I'm just going to baste that. And like many stews or braises, or like the beef stew we've done, the old-fashioned beef stew, and the pot roast, they benefit from sitting in the sauce overnight, but I'm probably too anxious. I'll probably want to eat it right away. When it cools off, we'll show you how to carve a fresh brisket. Now that our brisket has cooled somewhat, you don't need to keep this in the sauce overnight like you might a pot roast. With this sweet and sour brisket, it's fork tender, as you saw earlier. I took out the sauce so that it could somewhat cool, so I could handle it room temperature. Or I could wait till I can handle it room temperature and then slice it while it's still warm. I could do that. So I want to sharpen up my nice carving knife and get some nice slices. And we'll cut straight down. Beautiful color. That's what you would expect in a fresh brisket. See, the long knife gives me the nice thin slices. A nice sweet and sour brisket. The meat is still a little steamy, which is beautiful. And it's the flat part of the beef, as I told you, the brisket, is very lean, but by braising it, we've gotten some wonderful flavor and texture. I know you're going to enjoy making that. Thanks for joining us today. Bon appetit.